What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. And today, we'll be taking a deeper dive throughout the cryptocurrency market to see what's going on in the price action and how things are looking on a macro perspective. Yesterday, we had the Federal Reserve meeting where they announced a 0.5% interest rate hike to the federal funds rate and discussed their plans for quantitative tightening. As we showed yesterday, the media narratives out there were very fear-driven for this event. And as we saw last time when we saw an interest rate hike, the market eventually rallied to the upside, and the Dow Jones rose 932 points. I, of course, ran to Twitter in excitement to post that Dow Jones closes plus 932. I am so happy. This is what I wanted. I can't wait to talk about it in tomorrow's video. And then followed up a little later with, I won't leave you completely hanging all night long. It's what we discussed and crossed our fingers for in yesterday's video. Now, of course, we've been following the Dow Jones Industrial Average due to the high correlation of the cryptocurrency market to the stock market and following the ABC structure of the Dow for the last several months. And then our recovery that we all went through, looking for the Dow to get up to that 35,000 point range like we see in these structures, and then a pullback to take us down in here, right? Obviously, we've gone deeper, right? But structurally, we're still looking absolutely fine. And the breakout that happened yesterday over there in the Dow got us right back up where we want to be at this point right now. So it's what we had talked about in Tuesday's video on the structure before the Dow could break out and get up higher, and what I was hoping for and cheering for to happen here. And that's precisely what we had happen. So on the macro landscape of the Dow, everything is still looking just fine in here on an ABC correction, and us still trying to wrap ourselves up to go ahead and set off into new all-time highs, which is important for crypto because each time the Dow has had very clear conviction breakouts into new all-time highs and bull runs in the Dow Jones, that has also transpired into the crypto market. So macro perspective to see that occur, that's great. What does it also say in here? It also says there's probably consolidation. That's probably the pause out period for the Dow Jones right now, and it's going to probably pull back down, a nice ride up, but there's probably still consolidation to happen in here before it can start working its way out. But most certainly what we didn't want to see is in that meeting us go and set new lows below that sea leg, because that would invalidate that whole thing. Instead, we got exactly what we wanted to see to show that this is still playing out, and that this has still proven to be nothing more than a big corrective structure happening in here, and we're rounding out our bottom in here. And well, as we saw that rise happen over there in the Dow and in the stock market, we saw cryptos rising yesterday too. There's a little bit of red on the board today, this morning, not much. The whole market's down about 0.5%, but yesterday, after that happened, after the Fed meeting, the market in general was up about 5 to 6%. So we're still well up off the lows that we did see, like we were talking about yesterday with Bitcoin being back at that 702 retracement. We'll dig more deep into Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto here in just a second. But one of the things we also saw happen yesterday during that meeting was a knockback happen over here in the DXY, or the US dollar currency index, where it plummeted down. Now this morning, getting back to a little bit of closing the gap action. If I had to take my best guess on how the DXY would play out, it'd be that it'll actually waddle here for quite some time before the real bottom of it does fall out. And I'll kind of explain that for my macro picture here in just a moment, because like I also mentioned, I'm not so convinced the Dow Jones is actually breaking out in here. This is a long structure that's been playing out in here. It's not, I know we get excited sometimes when things move up quickly and anticipate, hey, since they moved up quickly yesterday, they have to keep moving up quickly again today. I don't have that mindset when it comes to the Dow, and when it comes to cryptos, I still think we're working things out in the market. And I think it's just going to take a little while for things to start really reversing. And I do think that DXY is way more tied to the euro and what's happening with euro USD, and that we're seeing a bottoming structure coming in here for the euro, and whether or not that's done bottoming yet or not. But what was really interesting is, yesterday when the Fed had their meeting, they were essentially portraying the message that the U.S. economy is very strong and they don't see any signs of recession coming. However, the Bank of England, their central bank, came out today and said that there is a recession. So what happens when people believe that they're going into a recession? They're going to buy up their local currency because they think things are going to get worse. Now, of course, England uses the sterling pound. They don't use the euro, but their chart is very similar to this. So I keep getting asked, what's the narrative going to be for these things to reverse, right? For the dollar to reverse, for the euro to reverse, what is the narrative going to be? I don't know. I'm not a fundamental narrative person, but the narrative always shows up when it's supposed to. And right now, we know that the United States is being told the message of the economy is super strong by the Federal Reserve and that there's nothing to worry about. And yet over there in Europe, they're getting told a different story. So we'll see if that's how the dollar plays out. I'm not too worried about the dollar. I'm way more focused on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That was the thing keeping me up at night. The dollar doesn't keep me up as much. Even though we see it's at its high right here from back in 2017, I know that this is really just an inverse chart of the Euro USD. And I would actually be more worried about my thesis if we saw the Euro take out its lows down here, which we can see there's still room for it to go, rather than the DXY poking a little bit higher. And I am sure 6 minutes into this video, there are several people saying, BCB, get to the crypto stuff, man. But in the end, this is part of the macro picture. This is why it's important to me, because we're going to talk about crypto. We're going to talk more of a macro perspective look on crypto here. But I know so many people get caught up into the day-to-day price action that, yes, yesterday was great, but I'm still not convinced we're ready to just surge just yet. And we're going to talk about that. So macro perspective, wanting to see the Dow Jones break to new highs. When that happens, that's good for crypto. So far, so good for the structure of the Dow Jones, following what we've been looking for with our ABC correction. We see us pulling back up here. We didn't break down. It does say there's still more pulling back to happen in here, but structurally everything is looking good, and we know this can lead to new highs. So structure on the Dow still looks good. That's good for all of this. Why do we look to the dollar? We look to the dollar because back in 2017, as the DXY was falling, and in 2020 and 2021, as the DXY was falling, that was also positive price action for the crypto market. So focusing on those two things doesn't guarantee anything, but we have lots of reference points to say, hey, if this thing starts heading in the downward direction, that was really good for crypto. Hey, if the stock market can break out into new all-time highs, in particular, if the Dow Jones can break out into new all-time highs, that's really good for crypto. So these things get focused on for the macro view of the market. And the macro view means the bigger picture, right? And so if it's looking like there's probably going to be some pausing out happening over there in the Dow Jones, or there's going to be consolidation happening over there in the Dow Jones, it seems logical that would transpire over into the cryptocurrency market. And that, as we started off May, I said that I still think that May is probably going to be a rough month. And I still actually think that for several cryptos. I think some of them did bottom actually in the last week. I think some of them did, but I think some of them did not. And in particular, that's going to be Ethereum. I don't think Ethereum has bottomed. This is really kind of something I've been looking for, is that Ethereum does find a way to move back up. It's been moving at a time ratio of what tops do look like for markets. I still fully believe that Ethereum's top is in, and Ethereum is in a very big bear market. And that currently Ethereum is working on its ABC correction before it goes off and plummets much lower. Dang it, blockchain backer. I came on here to be excited, not for that. But yeah, it still says that. It still says, we've got kind of a rough May ahead of us for some of these. And that it was really good to see the Dow pull up like that because, we don't want to see that thing break down, but it's probably still going to consolidate longer. It could still move down 700, 800 points. Even though it went up 932 yesterday, it could go down 700 or 800 and still be just completely fine from a bigger macro perspective. But when we're looking at things on the shorter time frame, especially for like Ethereum, still looking like, hey, we've got, maybe a rough month ahead in May for Ethereum before it can finally start working its way back up. Now in 2018, right, when we saw this happening with Bitcoin, this was like a super optimistic time for the altcoin market. Still going to stay with that mindset for sure. And I'm super optimistic on the next several months. But when looking at May, it still looks like there's some bottoming that's going to have to happen in here. and whether or not Ethereum's giving the signal for what Bitcoin's going to do, right? And what if, Bitcoin's going to work its way up a little bit, but then it's going to slam down a little bit lower too, right? Or if Bitcoin's working on an ABC, you would expect it to get down in here, right? Down into those 34s before it works its way back up. But Ethereum's chart is giving the signal that things aren't ready to just explode just yet. And the Dow, which just opened right now, also saying, see, it's opening down 300 points, that it's not ready to just explode just yet, which as well has been my thought process, right? Looking for us to pop all the way back up here, but that there's going to be consolidation that happens after that time period. And I think we're now going to go into that. But speaking of explosions, I'm really more focused on the altcoin market than I am on Bitcoin, or that I'm focused on Ethereum. I like you guys all know, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are in their bear markets. I don't think they're going to set new all-time highs. That's my personal perspective. Everybody's welcome to their own. We know that the altcoin market in itself, when we remove Bitcoin, we remove Ethereum, it's still been holding its 702 retracements in here. We look at it on the weekly time frame in here to see where it's pulled back to, and the weekly supports that have continued to hold here for the altcoin market. And that I've seen people posting something over there on Twitter referencing back to the 2017 bull run for the altcoin market and really pointing back to this moment back in here. And I can probably get on board with that idea a whole lot more than Ethereum and Bitcoin breaking out to new all-time highs. Now, we went into our long prolonged bear market. We've broken out into the highs. We're up here. Kind of similar to what was going on with the altcoin market back then. A little bit different. The altcoin market was kind of, butting against the all-time high in here, not able to get through, breaks out of the all-time high, and back tests the all-time high in here, right? That is different from what was going on right in here right now. We are higher than that, but we kind of entertain the idea of what happened in there. That we look at it a little bit closer to see. I'll take this off the screen to see the A, B, C correction in here. Breaks out into new all-time highs. Where does the price pull back to? Pulls back down to that support on top of that B leg in there. And you can see that was the supportive area before it marched its way up. And as we could see for the altcoin market at this current time, what did we have? We had an A, B, C. Where are we still holding prices on top of? We're holding prices on top of the B, which I've done maybe 5 or 10 different videos talking about the altcoin market and the Elliott wave counts on that, in which when you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you finally have an A, B, C correction. Then when you start your next wave, where do you go? You have a wave up, goes above the top, and then it pulls back to the height of wave B. And we'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within that wave with A, B, C pulling back to the height of wave B. We see that in each of these waves, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with an A, B, C. And then we go set another wave with 5 waves within that wave to a new high. Then an ABC correction will pull us back down to the height of wave B, like we see here, an ABC correction to the height of wave B, and then you march your way up, which has been the count over here on the altcoin market, with 5 waves taking us to the upside, followed by an ABC correction back to the 702 Fibonacci retracement, and on the weekly time frame, holding us here above the height of wave B in the ABC correction. So I know that's a lot, but when looking at Elliott waves, that is why I can get on board with this more than I can with Bitcoin and Ethereum setting a new all-time high. Because what do you have happening in here? You have an A, B, C correction. However you want to count these waves out. If you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an A, B, C correction down to the height of wave B. So the wave count works there as the wave count works here. So I can get more on board with that than I can with Ethereum and Bitcoin setting new all-time highs. However, I don't think we're going to see that type of run in the entire altcoin market cap, something like that from where we're at right now. Just even that move right there, 4,000% increase. That would take you up to a 25, 26 trillion market cap for the altcoin market, not including Bitcoin, not including Ethereum. And I don't find that to be realistic. At least there's no way. I don't think there's any way I'll be able to stay on the train that long. I will have gotten off the train by that time, or I will have gotten off the space shuttle and already be walking around on the moon before something like that would happen. Like I've said, if we see what has happened with the dominance of Bitcoin and Ethereum and with the dominance of the remainder of the market, and if we see the dominance play out the way they're pointing to, where if like Bitcoin and Ethereum went to about a 40% dominance of the market, and if the altcoin market took off into the retracement of Bitcoin and into Ethereum, that actually gets you right out there to about 2.35 trillion. So that's really kind of my like max target, is about 2.35 trillion for the remainder of the altcoin market. So I don't think that's going to be a repeat in the hand. But, I can get on board with the structure of what it's been doing with an ABC and then pulling back in here to its 702 and holding support on top of B. I'm all good with that. And we've talked about that wave count many times on this channel. So nice to see there's a really good example of it all playing out in action and how it panned out. And hopefully something like that would be occurring as Ethereum and Bitcoin go into retraces. And so the interesting thing about this is exactly what Bitcoin's top looked like back in 2018. And at that time, Bitcoin topped at $330 billion as its market cap. Ethereum topped out as $560 billion. So essentially, Ethereum this year is 2 Bitcoins from the last bull run. And the massive alt season, the blow off tops all occurred as we went into those final retraces. So again, like it's pointing to the macro perspective, right? Like I'm excited for that moment to come out, but I'm not oblivious to what I see happening here on this chart, that it still says that, May might be a rough ride still. But are there any elements that would point towards, optimistic futures for the altcoin market? And while we see the conditional setup of what happened when the altcoins market exploded into the end, we see the Dow Jones still working itself out. Look, down even more. As expected, it's probably going to go on for another week or two. But that structurally, we're looking good, like we wanted to see. And so we've gotten that playing out, expecting pulling back. But I started the video out by making a more macro perspective view of everything and then kind of integrating the altcoin market into that with the wave counts of the altcoin market that, on the bigger picture, things look pretty good right now. But on the micro picture, if you're going to look at what's going to happen today, what's going to happen tomorrow, or I'm FOMOing so hard I don't know what to do with myself, or I'm panicking so hard I don't know what to do with myself, this is kind of the more micro perspective of everything, that things are probably still not quite ready for the super exciting time period, but the conditions are approaching for what happens before the exciting times can come. And yesterday, when we got that close in the Dow Jones and it popped up out of there and it pulled off that structure that I've been hoping and praying and crossing my fingers for, I certainly got super happy. So macro perspective, super excited, still sticking with my thesis on the micro perspective and the shorter term time frame stuff. Probably still bumpy ride in May, but things are still looking so far so good. So for the next week or two, still focusing over there on the stock market to see that we find some supportive areas come in here and this thing can start working and taking out these highs up there for the Dow at about 34,000. That'll still be the focus for the macro perspective for the market moving forward. But I'm definitely excited to see us getting our way out of here and then continuing that yesterday as hoped. So consolidation in the cards likely for the stock market for the next week or two, until we can finally work our way out. If something crazy happens, a black swan or some breakdown, and we take out that sea leg, this is a completely different picture. And that invalidates everything. But so far, still perfectly fine, looking like an ABC in the final phases before it works its way up. But boy, oh boy, did I feel a sigh of relief when we got our way out of there yesterday. So consolidation in the cards likely if we keep going. Looking good so far, exciting. We'll keep checking on it throughout this week and next week. And who am I kidding? Probably the week after that as well. But all right, that's going to be it for this one, guys. What a wonderful ending to yesterday's session. We'll keep tracking it, looking for stuff to show up within the markets to give us some type of signal. Otherwise, the only logical thing I can think of at this point is probably consolidation. I'll go ahead and start wrapping this thing up. Yesterday, I'd mentioned that Link2 was running a promotion for viewers of the Blockchain Backer channel who use the affiliate link to sign up for Link2. I kind of vaguely described it. Let me be more specific. This is for new customers who sign up for Link2 and invest in Ripple. They'll get $1,000 back in XRP. And for new customers who sign up using the link, we'll get $500 back in XRP for any other investment that is made on the platform. So that's for new customers only. Of course, Link2 does run promotions as well for current customers too. And even today, they are running one for $1,000 back in XRP if you invest in Ripple on the Link2 platform, whether you're a new customer or you're a current customer. But my channel specific promotion is for those who use this and who are new customers to Link2. $1,000 back in XRP for investments in Ripple and $500 in XRP back for those who invest in any of their other assets that they have on their platform. And that is good for the entire month of May, which is for accredited investors to invest in private equity and companies prior to them going IPO over here on Link2. But all right, that's it. Needed to clarify all of that, but I hope that you guys are having a great day. I hope I kind of painted a picture of what I'm seeing over there in the markets, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. So thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.